The UK economy continues to experience ups and downs. The Labour Party carry on with their economic and political lies, and the mainstream media is simply allowing them to get away with it. Okay, let's talk about facts, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the Labour Party's lies and deceitfulness and everything else they've had. So, Rachel Reeves, who is supposed to be the brain behind the economic program of the Labour Party, stood up in Parliament, went on to have one of the usual rants about how everything's going badly and just blame the Tories, which, again, I'm very objective. We've always been very objective here. And the number of problems that we have in this country is the fault of the government. You know, you've seen the centralization of powers. You've seen the effects of the lockdown policies, what's happened there. The green crap still continues. The lack of borders that we have, illegal migration is still going on. And of course, even when it comes to basic economic management, hasn't gone too well. But the reality is, there are still some things that are going well enough. Employment rate is up, unemployment rate is down, and the economic growth is still there. Earlier today, we had the latest data that we went a bit negative when it comes to the economic news, economic growth. But in reality, overall, when it comes to G7, we're still doing better. Let's go to Rachel Reeves and listen to her rant.
This is a British crisis made in Downing Street. No other government is sabotaging their own country's economic credibility as this government is. So
Okay, let's give you some facts and data. Let's have a look at the first one. So this is the UK economy overall is still the fastest growing in the G7. Overall, 3.6% in terms of the actual 2022 growth. Now, obviously, on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, seasonal basis, the data, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, but the overall average is still up, more than Canada, stronger than Italy, France, Japan, America, and Germany. Let's look at the other one. Well, unemployment rate. It currently is at its near 50-year low. Unemployment rate is currently down to 3.5%, the lowest level since 1974. Is growing our economy and creating more jobs since 1974. Now, this does matter because this so-called conservative government deserves a lot of punishment. It deserves to be scrutinized and be held accountable for a number of failures. As we said, for example, the illegal migration crisis, for example, the way the housing policies have gone all over the place right now. Everything else from the so-called localization that didn't really actually work, decentralization of powers. So many issues right now, so many problems with the tax burden still being the highest in decades and decades. But the reality is that despite all that, the people of this country are still very resilient. Businesses and individuals still working hard. So technically, the economic credibility of the country, as Rachel Reeves mentions, is still not destroyed. Now, maybe we could say no thanks to the Tory government, fine, but thanks to the British public. So don't just say that, well, the whole economy is now gone down. The economy has not gone down. You know, there's a big problem with inflation. There's a massive problem with the currency rate and everything else. It's very different to linking it directly to, for example, employment. Cost of living crisis is a big issue. The Tories have messed up that problem, absolutely. And obviously all successive governments. This is not a new problem, by the way. This was just the bubble building up and eventually just obviously exploded. This needs to be addressed. But to say that, oh, it's just the fault of the whole of the British population and everything is just basically going down, and only the Labour Party can fix it, that is a lie. That is a big, big lie, and we have to always call it out. Now, speaking of lies and weirdos, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in half an hour. We're going to tell you about the Scottish National Party, the SNP, who are currently busy this week going to the Supreme Court to beg the Supreme Court to allow them to have a second referendum. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi and we are the media.